Hi everybody, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra. Today on John's Briefs with my friend and criminal defense attorney and family attorney and trust attorney and judge pro tem, Tim Forci. Dude's done it all. Want to talk today about castle doctrine and what is known as the curtilage. To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearms Legal Protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearms Legal Protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below. Ooh, I used a fancy legal term.
Curtilage. You're going back to Black's Law Dictionary.
Black's Law Dictionary. Yeah. How you like me now? This is funny. You know, Terry Johnson used to give me a hard time about going to law school. I'm not going to law school.
You breeze through it, I tell you.
But you can learn a lot about what's going on in the legal sense of the word. And we had a recent video on the channel. Link is in the description to a homeowner in Georgia who basically had an optional gunfight.
Wow. Optional.
Go learn the lessons out of that one.
Yeah.
And he comes out and just basically rips his own BMW up with his AR to have an unnecessary gunfight with the guy.
And by the way, to not hit the suspect. Which is a blessing in hindsight. But
got away, stole a laptop out of his car. Oh my gosh. And the guy's got to pay for his car to get fixed. Yay, really great outcome. Anyhow, every state in the union has some form of castle doctrine, right? So I know people ask all the time, well, you know, the duty to retreat, and in California, you got to jump out of your home. Actually, as I read them, California's self-defense laws are actually pretty good.
They are.
It's their gun laws that suck. But the self-defense laws there are pretty good. And every state,
they're pretty much the same. Yeah.
You don't have to retreat from your home.
That's correct.
100%.
You don't have to. Doesn't mean you shouldn't, or it could be very smart to do so, but yes, you don't have to.
There's no legal requirement to. However, in this case, he left the front door of his home and came out to his driveway. And so there's this legal concept called the curtilage of your home. And this is where the states do start to differ a little bit. Because in some states, the curtilage, how far does the curtilage extend outside your home on your property?
The old definition is the curtilage would be any outbuildings.
Yes.
So your shed, your garage, those are
inside those.
Inside, so the building itself, inside the building itself is curtilage, and then any of the land encompassed by that compound. It kind of goes back, again, to the Old English, who we're trying to protect? The king. We're trying to protect the castles, right? So that's why we call it the castle doctrine, you know. But basically,
inside the walls.
Yeah, anything inside the walls. So the castle was a building. What about the land outside of the castle where the crops were harvested and blah, 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 but it's all still within that walled area? That was known as curtilage.
Curtilage.
Okay? So here, in our modern society, my garage would be curtilage. The land between my home and my garage would be curtilage. My backyard that's fenced in is probably curtilage. My front yard that's not fenced might be curtilage. Okay, so
that's where it starts to get weird.
But at the end of the day, I always want to make sure I point this out. I think the castle doctrine is hugely misinterpreted and hugely overemphasized.
Tell me why.
So I'll be teaching a CCW class, and I'll have 50 people sitting there listening.
Just shoot somebody in the front yard, drag them in the house.
Well, that one, my dad taught me that. That was Southern Illinois wisdom right there.
Don't tamper with crime scenes.
But I'll say this. I'll say, okay, you know, we've all been here for 3 hours already. We're all family. We're all friends. Just go ahead and be honest. Just blurt out the answer to this question, okay? The castle doctrine says if somebody breaks into my house, I can, and 12 people go, kill them.
Shoot them.
And so then I give my, you know, unfortunately it's been well rehearsed by this point where you're on the toilet, it's a fall day, your door is open, your screen door is closed but not latched, your doorbell rings. You ignore it because you're on the toilet. Ding dong, ignore it. Ding dong, knock, 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 ignore it, ignore it. Finally, something's up, I can't ignore this anymore. You get up, you wash your hands, you walk around the corner, and you see a 9-year-old Girl Scout standing in your living room. She knocked on the door swung open, she walked in, because she doesn't have knowledge yet, right? And she's got a box of Girl Scout cookies. She says, hey, would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies? I guess I can kill her. She broke into my home. She came in my house. People, well, she didn't break in. Yes, she did.
Oh, she forced her entry.
Doorway. She came in without an invitation. So and then people go, well, wait a minute.
Knocked on the door and the door was forced. So that's a use of force. Very small.
The castle doctrine basically says you don't have a requirement to surrender your castle before you can defend it. Okay. that doesn't make it a good idea, okay? If just because somebody breaks into your house in the middle of the night doesn't mean that you're absolutely certainly guaranteed the right to be able to defend yourself with lethal force. What if the guy is nude and he just broke away from the mental health halfway house 2 houses down that you didn't even know was there?
Yeah.
And he thinks the people are trying to poison him, and he just walked to your back door and he says, hey man, I need some help. Well, I guess I get to shoot him.
Yeah.
You've got to be in fear for your life. And so when we talk about castle doctrine, curtilage, we talk about the stand your ground law, I always tell people, those are largely media-driven stuff. Are you in fear for your life? If so, do what you got to do. If you're not in fear for your life, I don't care which building you're in or whether you're walking backwards or forwards.
Objective, reasonable fear for your life.
Exactly, right.
And so, again, even here in Arizona, when we say, okay, our laws are very good related to self-defense, best in the nation, I would say. And in Arizona, if somebody forcibly enters an occupied dwelling, your home, for instance, you have the presumption.
It is a presumption which is rebuttable.
It's a presumption that they mean you deadly harm.
That's correct. And that's smart. That's why it's a good law.
You get the tie that goes to the runner, right? As a homeowner, you're presumed to be acting reasonably, and so the prosecution has to rebut that presumption.
And when they show that you shot a 9-year-old Girl Scout, that's going to rebut that presumption.
So when they show that who you actually shot was your teenage kid who was sneaking back in after being out with their friends?
Exactly.
Now, of course, I think a lot of prosecutors have a heart too and realize that the punishment that you're bearing internally might be enough and not send you to prison for the next 20 years.
I just saw that this week. I had a client that mishandled his gun and fired a shot through his own hand.
Oh boy. And
got arrested for Class 6 dangerous for discharge of a firearm within city limits. And I talked to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor, I showed him pictures of the wound.
Right.
The prosecutor says, you know what, I think you're right. I think this guy's learned his lesson. And they dropped charges.
Boy,
so there are good, smart prosecutors.
Good, smart prosecutors.
This guy's learned his lesson.
And listen, here's the thing though. What I really wanted to talk about from this, so just the castle doctrine gets misunderstood because again, you still have to act reasonably, right? And again, you're going to get probably more benefit of the doubt inside the house.
That's right.
And in your backyard that is fenced, that's a reasonable person would realize this is off limits property. This is their private use, curtilage.
Correct.
Front yard doesn't have that.
That's right.
Well, in many cases.
Yeah.
In many cases, right? And so this enters into a real gray area of am I in my curtilage or not?
Well, to me, the gray area is am I in fear for my life?
Yeah.
I'm in my house. I look on my video. There's a guy that's trying to break into my car. You pointed this out in your analysis.
And he's got a gun.
What are you doing going outside? You're willing to risk your life and your freedom for the rest of your life to save State Farm $250 deductible?
Yeah, or 500 or 1,000 even.
What are you doing? I mean, it's just insane to me that people do this, but they do it all the time.
I've told this story on the channel that I've had this happen to me in real life, that I had, my pickup truck got stolen out of my driveway and went on a couple-day bender, and he came back and got fixed and all these things. Well, a year and a half later, I hear somebody messing with my pickup truck in my driveway again. I go get the shotgun off the wall. Why? Because a house howitzer is king. I get to the front door and I have a literal hand on my shoulder, and I think it was the Holy Spirit actually going, whoa, what are you doing? I'm gonna go stop these guys from stealing my truck. Yeah. Okay, time out. What you're doing right now is, how much did it cost you last time? It cost me $500 for my insurance deductible to get my car fixed when they got it back. Or if the car had gone, it would have been $500 to replace the car. So if I took $500 out of your checking account today and I stuck it on your driveway, and I said, you can go have that $500 back out of your checkbook, but to get it, you're going to have a gunfight with an unknown number of people of unknown capabilities.
Right.
Would you do that? Well, how stupid do I have to be to take that up? That's the dumbest thing ever, because if I do have a gunfight, guess what?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to pay a retainer much bigger than the $500.
Oh my God. Substantially.
So again, this is a bad idea. Yeah. It's, and even if you go, well, he's within his rights.
So what?
It's still stupid to do.
Yeah.
And so, okay, that was stupid to do. And in some states where you do, there's a minority of states that still do have a duty to retreat. Mm-hmm. When you walk out your front door, you might be considered the instigator of the gunfight.
Can I be honest? In this case, he was. I mean, I'm not saying he was wrong up until the shots started getting fired. The guy was a horrible robber with a gun. I mean, but would there have been a gunfight if our guy hadn't walked out there and opened fire? There would not have been. And don't forget, he's cranking off an AR in a residential neighborhood.
Right, where are those bullets going?
I mean,
and he was doing it really terribly, by the way. This thing,
literally blindly around the corner. I mean, jihad. What's going on here?
Terrible stuff. He looked like he trained in Mogadishu.
Yeah.
But So listen, that concept of castle doctrine, you got to be careful of. Okay, so yeah, you have the right to your space, and
Right.
you don't have to retreat from your space. You step out your front door, and depending on how that's seen, you may lose that protection, and that therefore that's not really any different than, okay, why don't you meet me in the street
Right.
and we'll have a gunfight
You're
to
taking
solve
the
this
challenge.
thing.
What I have seen with a couple of different clients is the story starts out this way. So I look out my back window at 2 in the morning and I see a guy in my backyard. So I go get a gun and I go to investigate. I've heard that story 2 or 3 times from people. So what? I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, what?
Why would you're literally leaving the safety of the castle to go out to the curtilage to encounter somebody who you have no idea, is that a cop? Is it a bad guy? Is it a mentally ill person? Are they armed? Are they not? You know nothing.
Right.
But you're going to go out and find out what's going on. You call 911, you find a good vantage point, you crouch down with a gun and a flashlight in your hand, and you wait for the cops to show up and to see what happened.
True story. A number of years ago, I had a very similar thing happen. Somebody in my back shed where we keep all our tools and stuff like that, and I hear all this commotion in my shed. I grab the shotgun and I tell my wife, hey, call 911, we need some help here. And they said, well, what do you hear? You know, the dispatcher, tappity tap, what's going on? And she's like, well, they're kind of asking what's going on. I say, well, I can hear somebody in that back shed and it's not like a little animal or something.
And they're not speaking raccoon.
Tell them I'm armed.
Yeah. That gets their attention.
As soon as, okay, we're on the way. And she goes, the dispatcher goes, tell him to put the gun away. And Laura goes, she says to put the gun away. Tell him I'll put it away when they get here.
Exactly.
I will know when the reds and blues show up, and I will put it down, and I'll come out the front door with nothing in my hands.
Have her describe what you look like, what you're wearing, and where your hands will be, and where the shotgun will be when they come up the front step.
And they came up. Door, was wide open at that point. Hi, officers. Nice to see you.
Exactly.
You know, they're like, hey, did you put the gun down? Yes, sir. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Now that story ended up just fine. Okay, but again, don't go out there to investigate.
What are you doing? You're investigating what? For what reason? Why?
Be careful that curtilage, everybody. Tim, appreciate the discussion.
You bet. Not cartilage. Curtilage.
Curtilage.
Be careful with cartilage too.
Yeah,
it hurts. But
all right, I think we got time.